Welcome back to episode 4. Almost every client who's ever come to work with me is looking to feel better. They want change, but they genuinely cannot figure out how to move forward. They cannot read enough on how to get it right and want to talk about distinct ways that this shows up because you need to understand both perfectionism paralysis and functional freeze. As high achievers and perfectionists, we do not go into preventative measures very easily. And when we do, it's usually to the extreme. It's either 150 miles or 0. We do this in our minds too, and it's called polarized thinking. Everything is either all or nothing, right or wrong, black or white, and it fuels both of these states. So let's break them down a little bit. Perfectionism paralysis is cognitive, mental. It lives in thought patterns and internalized beliefs. The performance standards that were handed to you long before you had any say in whether you even wanted them. The logic underneath this is, if I can't do this right, I'm just not going to do it at all. That's why so many brilliant, creative, innovative people with extraordinary things to offer never take the next step. It's not because they lack any type of capability. It's because they're afraid of it not being right the first time, of failing, of succeeding and then having to sustain it, that they'll shut down entirely. Perfectionism paralysis does not announce itself as fear. It announces itself as not being ready yet, as needing more time, as waiting for the right moment that never quite arrives. I even see this when people are getting ready to book a strategy call with me. They'll say, I don't think I'm ready, or I don't think my schedule will work with what you have available. And what's so interesting about that is that the open slots and hours on my calendar are specifically times I leave available for strategy calls, so my coaching and therapy hours stay protected. The resistance shows up everywhere, even in the moment before asking for help. Functional freeze is different. It doesn't live in your thoughts, it lives in your nervous system. And it looks nothing like what most people actually picture it to look like. People imagine like a collapse or a breakdown, but it's more of like a flattening or a muting. I like to think of it as like taking off a pair of really great sunglasses and then suddenly everything is just gray. You're still functioning, you're still making dinner, you're still showing up to work, you're still making it to your appointments, but nothing is feeling quite connected, nothing feels lit up. Everything has just become a checkbox. I see this pretty often in a client that I've worked with for years who has a family member with a chronic mental illness. She asked me one time why she goes into freeze mode every time this person texts her. I see it in male clients who have stopped engaging in things that used to restore them, like they're fishing or hunting or hiking, woodworking, traveling. The body just stops, and not because they don't want to, because the nervous system has nothing left to give. One of my favorite questions to ask, just about everybody, when was a time that you felt truly alive? And I really want you to think about this question. If you're struggling to come up to an answer with this, or if it was a long time ago, that's really important information. Perfectionism paralysis is inherited as much as it is developed. Think about the older generations and the culture of stoicism, that pull up your bootstraps, get on with it. I've never met a perfectionist or high achiever who doesn't use phrases, it's fine, or it is what it is. And I cross-reference this often with people who carry complex post-traumatic stress disorder. There's a real connection point that happens there. That approach caused generations of people to repress rather than process, to hold the weight of everything they were not allowed to name and didn't have names for. They didn't have the same information that we now have constant access to. But that unprocessed weight doesn't disappear. It gets stored and it becomes a foundation of a nervous system that learned feelings are not safe, stopping is not safe, anything less than perfect is a threat. Functional freeze is what happens at the far end of fight or flight. When nervous system has been running so hot for long enough, it doesn't always explode. Sometimes it just goes quiet. The body keeps the score. It holds the grief, chronic stress, unprocessed loss, and the accumulated weight of never quite letting yourself rest. Over time, that storage starts showing up physically. Chronic pain, illnesses, shingles is a great a diagnosis that's often happens with this. Autoimmune responses, symptoms that don't have clean diagnosis, but you feel deeply disconnected from your own life. I have also worked with very few clients who aren't also carrying some form of grief. And grief isn't always about the death of a person. It can be about losing a relationship with the parent that was never quite what you needed, losing the ability to have children, not feeling connected to your children, losing a career you believed in. That's called ambiguous grief. And it's real. When it goes unacknowledged, it weighs on everything else, whether you're acknowledging it or not. Your body hears what your mind is saying, but it cannot always distinguish between a real external threat and an internal one. And if you don't create space to process what's happening inside, eventually your body will create a space for you, whether you're ready or not. The old way of thinking about this is, I just need to push through. I don't have time to slow down. I'll deal with it later. I've been to therapy. I know where this comes from. I should be able to handle this on my own. I hear this all the time. I also said all of those things. I'm a clinical therapist and I said every single one of them. But here's the reframe. Knowing where something is coming from is not the same thing as having support to change it. And changing it is not about adding one more thing to an already full plate. It's about shifting the way you communicate with yourself and giving yourself the compassion and grace to actually try something different. The thing I wish I had the most when I was doing this work, and I got lucky because I had a lot of friends who were therapists and I had my own providers that respected me, but it was someone who genuinely believed it was okay for me to release the pressure. We have to release the valve. We have to create enough space to show up with the time, patience, and energy for ourselves. The reason I structure my coaching the way that I do, which is limiting clients per month, real-time Voxer access, deeply personalized sessions that are great, is because this work requires presence. This is not a program. You don't need more information. You need accountability, real-time support, and someone who can hold the mirror up in those moments that actually matter. Having Voxer access means that when you have something happen, like you're mid-spiral, mid-freeze, mid-reaction, you can get out of your head and into the voice message with me, and we can talk, and you get to talk to somebody who speaks this language, who's probably been there. Even if you can't name all of it, I will help you tease the pieces that can be shifted. When I'm responding to you, I'm not just validating you, I'm helping you redirect the way you communicate with yourself so that over time you start to hear yourself differently, even when I'm not there. So this also includes looking honestly at dependencies you've quietly developed, the things that help you wind down, numb out, or cope. It isn't about shame. This isn't about breaking patterns from older generations, the sweeping everything under the rug, the repression. And it's actually going through the steps to make active change. It is painful to do in real time while still managing everything, but it is essential and there's not going to be a better time. Here's what's going to start to happen. Everyone around you sees you transforming before you fully see it yourself. It's like when somebody's losing weight, The people around you notice it first, but you might feel your pants are a little looser. But people in your life are going to watch something shift. The goal is not that you never feel discomfort again. The goal is when the discomfort shows up, you no longer have to push through, shut down, or disappear to manage it. I want you to think about two things right now. First, what is one thing you have wanted to change for a long time that you know how to do, but you haven't been able to lean into? Not because you lack capability, because something keeps stopping you. Second, where in your life do you feel functional freeze right now? Where are you still showing up, still doing the things, but feeling completely disconnected from why you're actually doing them? Just name it. You don't have to fix it. Naming it is the first step that we're going to make towards changing it. In our next episode, we're going to talk about what becomes possible, the alternative you didn't know existed, the life that's already waiting for you on the other side of this work. I'll see you on the other side.